Alright guys, in the last video we talked about types in Angular and TypeScript, and we just added a bunch of stuff that isn't really relevant to a user component, but I just wanted to show you the different types that were available and just mess around a little bit. So we're going to get rid of most of this stuff. Let's get rid of these methods here, show age and add numbers. We're just going to get rid of everything in the constructor, all of that stuff, and let's get rid of all the properties. And I just want to basically have one user property, and we're going to set this to a type of an object, and it's going to have inside of it a first name, which will be a string. It's going to have a last name, which will be a string, an age, which will be a number, an address. Now the address is going to be another object that has a a street. So street was a string. We have a city string and a state string. Okay, so down here, now I know that this looks like a lot, and I'm going to show you how to make this look better by using an interface in a little bit. But let's go ahead and add the actual data in the constructor. So we'll say this dot user equals, and we're going to set first name to John, last name Doe, age, address. So address is an object, and address will have a street. We'll say 50 Main Street, and a city. We'll say Boston, and state. Alright, so if we go ahead and save this, you're going to see that our application over here, I'm going to make this a little bigger, is going to mess up. Okay, it's not showing any of the data anymore because now everything is in this user object or this user property. So we have to go to our template and just add here user.firstname, user.lastname. Let's get rid of the show age here and say user.age, and then user.address.street for the city and the state as well, and save. And there we go. So now everything's back. So we just have everything in this one user property. So this is a little more like what you would actually see in a real application. So now what I want to do is talk about interfaces. So interfaces are kind of like models for your data. And all of this stuff that we did here can go into an interface. So what I'm going to do is go to the bottom of the file, outside of the class, outside of everything, and just say interface user, okay, capital U, user. And then we're going to take all of this, so everything inside of these curly braces, and we're going to cut that out and then put that in here. So now we have a model or an interface for what a user should look like. So it has our first name, just move that back, last name, age, and then an address object. And then what we can do is, instead of assigning all that stuff right here, we can simply just now say user. Okay, and we're pointing to the user interface. And if we save that, that should work. We should get no compile errors or anything like that. Now, in a lot of cases, you're going to be having this user in other places as well, whether it's another component or a service or somewhere else. So instead of repeating this, putting this in all of the other files you have a user in, you're probably going to want to put this in a separate file. So what I do is I go in my app folder and create a folder called models, and then any interfaces or class or model classes I put in here. So I'm going to create a new file called user.ts, and I give it a capital, start it with a capital, and then we'll go ahead and we'll take this entire interface and we'll cut that and then go into that user TS and paste it in. So one thing we have to do though is add export so that we can access it from other files. Alright, so we'll save that and we'll save the user component. Now we're going to have an error because it doesn't know what user is anymore. We removed it from the file, so we simply need to bring it in up here. Okay, just like we brought it, we can bring in anything else. So we'll bring in user, and it's going to be .. That brings us outside of our user folder. .. again brings us outside of our components folder into the app folder, and then we want to go into models, and then we want user. And now you can see that red line disappeared. And if I save, now we're going to see this error down here saying user TS is not a module. This is just because when we bring in a new class like this, or bring in an interface, we need to restart the server. So I'm going to Control C and then do ng serve again, and then it should work. It should clear that error up. Alright, so now you can see everything is working fine. Alright, so creating an interface is very, very simple. It's just a mapped object, really. So now our user component is a little more elegant than it was before. So something that kind of looks like what you would see in a real application. Now, in the next video, what I want to do is generate a new component called users. And basically I want it to be a list of users, but I want to create it with the CLI because we created this one just by hand. We manually created the files for it, but there's a faster and easier way to create components with the CLI. So we're going to get into that in the next video.